Los Angeles, California, June 8, 1971. Wednesday afternoon, 3:15 p.m. The UCLA basketball facility stands empty, except for the echo of a single basketball bouncing against hardwood. The sound reverberates through the cavernous space, each impact sharp and precise, matching the rhythm of its owner's legendary skyhook shot that has dominated college basketball for 3 years running. The facility itself is a monument to athletic achievement. Built in 1965, Pauley Pavilion represents the cutting edge of sports architecture. The wooden floor gleams under fluorescent lights, polished to perfection by maintenance staff who understand that champions deserve perfect playing surfaces. The walls display banners commemorating UCLA's basketball dynasty, 3 consecutive NCAA championships that have established this program as the greatest in college basketball history. But today, basketball isn't why the most famous athlete in America is here. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stands alone in the center of the court, 7 feet 2 inches of lean muscle and athletic precision. At 24 years old, he's already being called the greatest college basketball player of all time. His real name is Lou Alcindor, though he'll officially change it next year when he converts to Islam. UCLA has won 3 consecutive NCAA championships, with him as their cornerstone. In 2 months, he'll be drafted first overall by the Milwaukee Bucks and begin his journey to NBA immortality. His physical presence is overwhelming even in this vast space. Standing at center court, he makes the regulation basketball hoop look somehow smaller, more attainable. His wingspan, measured at over 7.5 feet, gives him reach that defies normal human proportions. When he extends his arms fully, he can nearly touch both free-throw lane lines simultaneously. The late afternoon sun streams through the high windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. The facility smells of leather, wood polish, and the lingering sweat of countless practices. It's a sanctuary of athletic achievement, a place where legends are forged through repetition, dedication, and an unwavering belief in physical superiority. That belief is about to be tested. Kareem bounces the basketball methodically, his movements fluid and controlled. Each dribble demonstrates perfect hand-eye coordination, the kind of natural athleticism that has made him unstoppable on the court. His reach advantage over any opponent is astronomical. His height allows him to shoot over anyone. His speed, remarkable for his size, lets him dominate both ends of the floor. But physical dominance isn't why he's here today. 3 days ago, Kareem attended a private screening of The Green Hornet at a friend's house in Beverly Hills. The show featured an Asian actor named Bruce Lee playing the role of Kato, the Green Hornet's martial arts expert sidekick. What Kareem saw on screen intrigued him. The speed, the precision, the way this compact man moved like water flowing around obstacles. After the screening, conversations turned to martial arts philosophy. Someone mentioned that Bruce Lee taught private lessons to Hollywood actors and athletes. Someone else said Lee claimed that martial arts could overcome any physical disadvantage. The discussion became heated when one of Kareem's friends suggested that Bruce Lee could actually defeat larger opponents through technique alone. Kareem had laughed, not mockingly, but with the confidence of someone who had never met a physical challenge he couldn't overcome. "I respect martial arts," he had said, his deep voice filling the room. "But there are limits to what technique can do against pure size and reach. I'm 7'2", my wingspan is over 7'6", How do you overcome that kind of physical advantage? Size matters. It always has. The words had gotten back to Bruce Lee within 24 hours. Hollywood was a small community, especially among those interested in physical disciplines. When the message reached Bruce, he had simply smiled and made a phone call. Mr. Abdul-Jabbar. Bruce's voice had been courteous, respectful. I understand you have questions about martial arts principles. I'd be honored to demonstrate some concepts for you if you're interested in learning. Kareem, to his credit, had accepted immediately. His curiosity was genuine. He wanted to understand what this small man could possibly show him that would change his perspective on physical advantage. Now, waiting alone in the UCLA facility, Kareem continues his rhythmic dribbling. Each bounce echoes his thoughts. He's not here to humiliate anyone. He's here to learn, to see what Bruce Lee can demonstrate that might expand his understanding of physical combat. But deep down, he remains convinced that size and reach will prove decisive in any real confrontation. At 3:20 p.m., the gymnasium doors open. Bruce Lee enters quietly, wearing simple black pants, a white t-shirt, and canvas shoes. At 5 feet 7 inches and 135 pounds, he looks impossibly small in the vast space. Next to Kareem's towering frame, he appears almost childlike. But there's something in his posture, his breathing, his focused awareness that suggests depths of capability not immediately visible. Bruce walks toward the center of the court, his footsteps making almost no sound on the hardwood. His movements are economical, purposeful, like a man who has eliminated every unnecessary motion from his repertoire. Kareem stops dribbling and tucks the basketball under his arm. The size difference between them is absurd. Kareem's reach advantage is over 2 feet. His weight advantage is more than 80 pounds. In any conventional athletic contest, this would be no contest at all. Thank you for coming, Kareem says, extending his hand downward to shake Bruce's. Bruce shakes it firmly, his grip surprisingly strong. Thank you for inviting me. I'm curious to explore some concepts with you. They stand there for a moment, taking each other's measure. Kareem sees a compact, well-conditioned man with intelligent eyes and perfect posture. Bruce sees an athlete in peak physical condition, someone whose body has been honed for a specific purpose through years of dedicated training. I'll be honest with you, Kareem says. I don't understand how martial arts can overcome basic physics. You're giving up 7 inches of height and 80 pounds of weight. In basketball, that's an insurmountable advantage. Bruce nods. In basketball, you're absolutely right, but we're not playing basketball. Then what are we doing? We're exploring distance, timing, and leverage. May I show you something? Kareem gestures broadly. Please. Bruce positions himself about 8 feet away from Kareem, close enough to be within range, but far enough to demonstrate his point clearly. Throw me the basketball, Bruce says simply. Kareem, puzzled but compliant, tosses the ball underhand to Bruce, who catches it easily. Now, Bruce continues, I want you to try to take the ball away from me. Use your reach advantage. Use your height. Use whatever physical gifts you have. Just try to get the ball. Kareem almost smiles. This seems too easy. He approaches Bruce with his hands extended, confident that his wingspan will allow him to simply reach over or around the smaller man and take the basketball. What happens next defies every expectation Kareem has about physical advantages. As Kareem reaches for the ball, Bruce moves. Not backward, not to the side, but in a way that seems to fold space itself. The basketball, which was clearly in Bruce's hands one moment, is suddenly somewhere else entirely. Kareem's long arms close on empty air. Bruce hasn't run away. He hasn't ducked under Kareem's reach. He simply repositioned himself in a way that makes Kareem's height and reach irrelevant. Again, Bruce says quietly, holding the basketball in a different position. Kareem reaches again, this time more aggressively, using his full wingspan to try to trap Bruce in an inescapable position. But Bruce flows around his attempts like water around a stone. Every time Kareem thinks he has Bruce cornered, the smaller man appears in a different location, still holding the ball, still completely untouchable. After 6 attempts, Kareem stops, breathing slightly harder. Not from exertion, but from confusion. "How are you doing that?" he asks. "I'm not fighting your strengths," Bruce explains. "I'm not trying to be taller or stronger or longer-armed than you. I'm making those advantages irrelevant by changing the nature of the engagement." Bruce sets the basketball on the floor and takes a step back. "Your reach is an advantage only if I'm where you expect me to be. Your height helps you only if I engage you on terms that favor height. But what if I don't play by those rules?" Kareem nods slowly, beginning to understand. "You're saying that every strength can become a weakness if the situation changes." "Exactly. Your height makes you more visible to opponents. Your long limbs take more time to redirect once they're committed to a movement. Your size makes you dependent on leverage points that I can avoid entirely." Bruce moves closer to Kareem, positioning himself just outside the range where the basketball player's natural reflexes would engage. "May I demonstrate one more concept?" Kareem nods. "I want you to grab my wrist," Bruce says, extending his right hand. "Use your strength advantage. Use both hands if you want. Just grab my wrist and don't let go." Kareem reaches down and wraps both of his large hands around Bruce's wrist. His grip is powerful, the result of years of basketball training that have strengthened his hands and forearms. He's confident that there's no way the smaller man can break free from this hold. Bruce doesn't try to pull away. Instead, he does something that makes no sense to Kareem's understanding of leverage and strength. Bruce's entire body moves as a unit, creating a wave of motion that starts from his feet, travels through his legs and hips, and culminates in a spiral movement that somehow makes Kareem's grip irrelevant. One moment, Kareem is holding Bruce's wrist. The next moment, Bruce's hand is free, and Kareem is slightly off balance from gripping something that was suddenly no longer there. "How?" Kareem asks. "I didn't fight your strength," Bruce explains. "I redirected it. Your grip was powerful, but it was designed to stop me from pulling away. When I moved in a direction you weren't prepared for, your strength became less important than your ability to adapt." They spend the next hour exploring these concepts. Bruce doesn't try to prove he could defeat Kareem in any kind of contest. Instead, he demonstrates how technique, timing, and understanding of body mechanics can neutralize advantages that seem insurmountable. He shows Kareem how a smaller person can use leverage to redirect a larger person's momentum. He demonstrates how superior positioning can make height and reach advantages irrelevant. He explains how reading an opponent's intentions can compensate for differences in speed and strength. Most importantly, he teaches Kareem that every physical advantage comes with corresponding limitations, and that true mastery lies in understanding how to exploit those limitations. "This doesn't mean size doesn't matter," Bruce clarifies as their session winds down. In basketball, your height and reach are tremendous advantages because basketball has rules that favor those attributes. But in a fluid situation, where the parameters can change, other factors become more important. Kareem sits on the court, his long legs stretched out in front of him, processing what he's learned. "I've spent my whole life relying on physical advantages," he admits. "I never really considered that they could be limitations under different circumstances." "They're not limitations," Bruce corrects. "They're tools. But like any tool, they work best when you understand not just what they can do, but what they can't do." Bruce sits down beside Kareem, the size difference still dramatic but somehow less important now. "You're going to have an incredible career in basketball," Bruce continues. "Your physical gifts are extraordinary, but understanding their limitations will make you even better. You'll stop relying on them in situations where they don't serve you. You'll develop other skills to complement them." They talk for another 20 minutes about training philosophy, about the mental aspects of physical performance, about the difference between being strong and being effective. When Bruce finally leaves, Kareem remains on the court, dribbling the basketball again. But now each bounce sounds different to him. Each movement feels different. He's beginning to understand that his greatest strengths might also be his greatest learning opportunities. 6 months later, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar begins his NBA career with the Milwaukee Bucks. He becomes one of the greatest players in basketball history, known not just for his physical advantages, but for his intelligence, his adaptability, and his ability to find ways to win even when his traditional strengths are neutralized by creative defensive schemes. In interviews throughout his career, when asked about influences on his approach to the game, he occasionally mentions a conversation with a martial artist who taught him that every strength contains the seeds of its own limitations. He never names Bruce Lee directly, respecting the private nature of their encounter, but the influence is clear in how he approaches challenges. "Size matters in basketball," he says in a 1975 Sports Illustrated interview. "But understanding the limitations of size matters even more. I learned that from someone who was about half my size and twice as wise." The lesson stuck with him for life, influencing not just his basketball career, but his approach to acting, writing, and coaching. True strength, he learned, isn't about overpowering opponents. It's about understanding yourself so completely that you can adapt to any situation, neutralize any advantage, and find a way to succeed regardless of the obstacles. In a sport dominated by size and athleticism, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became legendary not just for being tall, but for being smart. Not just for being strong, but for being wise. His skyhook shot became unstoppable, not because of his height alone, but because he understood positioning, timing, and leverage in ways that transcended physical advantages. And it all started with an afternoon when he learned that the biggest person in the room isn't always the strongest, and the strongest person in the room isn't always the wisest. The lesson was simple. Mastery isn't about maximizing your advantages. It's about understanding your limitations and transcending them through wisdom, preparation, and humility to keep learning from anyone who has knowledge to share. That wisdom, taught by a man 7 inches shorter and 80 pounds lighter, helped make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar unstoppable for 20 years of professional basketball. Years later, when Bruce Lee died tragically in 1973, Kareem would privately mourn the loss of a teacher who had fundamentally changed his understanding of strength and competition. Though their encounter lasted only hours, the principles Bruce shared that afternoon in Pauley Pavilion influenced every game Kareem played thereafter. The basketball court where they met still stands today, bearing Kareem's name. Students and athletes who practice there have no idea that in 1971 it hosted one of the most important lessons about gifts and mastery. In martial arts schools worldwide, instructors tell the story of when basketball's greatest giant learned that size is one tool among many, and wisdom will triumph over advantage.